Since this is an optional Zoom room, we are not live in the traditional sense, but do keep in mind that because it's recording, it can pick up on the stuff you guys are talking about. So if you let me finish real quick, it's going to give us the cleanest recording of what we got going on. So 3 links here in the cool layer mask stuff panel of your, or not panel, section of your GD Thursday agenda. We're going to start looking at this typography composition one, which I'm going to show you how to do in Photoshop. But if you're curious, the fast version is right here. Another cool thing that is a really easy way to kind of explore Photoshop as an artistic tool is to create a, good morning, a digital version of something called a double exposure. Double exposure is an old film photography tactic where you would take 2 pictures on the same slide. So it would create a cool effect of like, it's basically like the compositions we've been doing, blending 2 images together. You can do that in an analog way, but we're going to recreate that effect with Photoshop. And then there's also one that's really popular, messing around with some more layer masks and layer styles, is the neon lighting effect. This one's probably the most involved. It takes the longest, but it does yield one of the cooler results of the 3 that I've got going on. So the typography composition, this is something that you would typically use to create, you can see the Unsplash that I was on. You would typically use this kind of style to create like an informative poster or some kind of social media post. And you'll see how that could work here in just a second. So I'm going to go to Unsplash, my favorites. What are these called? Royalty-free image site. And then I'm just going to search for a portrait. You can use whatever image you like, but this works really well with a portrait of some kind. So I like the look of, oh, that's Unsplash Plus. I don't have Unsplash Plus. Let's see. Scanning real quick. It's also Unsplash Plus. Let's do this one. So what I'm thinking about, and this is something again that will come with time because you guys have yet to experience a lot of graphic design in the world. You want to look for some available space when you're creating posters because it's all about communication, right? You want a little bit of room to be adding the information that you're trying to show off here. So I'm going to go with this one because it's got a nice contrast between the red and the green, as well as some area for me to kind of do some fun stuff with the up part right here. So I'm going to download free. My version of Firefox asks me where I want to save it. Yours probably just goes straight to the downloads if you haven't changed that. But I'm going to save this to a new folder, which I'm going to call TYPCOMP for typography composition. I'm going to go into the type comp and then just leave the default file name because it's got the photographer's name and other fun stuff. So I'm going to click save. You can do this with any picture, but again, it works really well with portraits from a poster design sort of angle. Your end result is going to look something like this. This is what I was experimenting this morning, but we're going to go to File. Let me make sure my tools are good. There we go. We're going to open up that image. Instead of creating a new document, we're going to go to File and then Open, and then find the picture that we selected in our type comp folder like this. So same deal. We've got a background layer, but since this isn't a photograph that we took and we have it saved, we're not really too concerned about losing its information. We're not really too concerned about like, if we have to mess with the pixels, we have a backup just in case. So I'm just going to unclick this lock right here so that it converts it to a normal layer of layer 0. The next step is you're going to take, you're going to hit Control J, not in the way that we usually do it, because we're going to create a copy, some kind of stacking action that happens between these 2 layers. And on that layer 0 copy right here, you're going to go up to the selection menu, which lives up here on the top of your screen. You're going to go select subject. Photoshop's going to think for a second, and it's going to make a actually really, really good guess about what type of subject we want to be focused on here. It's going to make our line of marching ants kindergarten cutout. We're going to mask that. Masking that doesn't do anything visually because we still have that background layer included inside of our visuals. Let me make sure I'm doing this right here. Yes. Okay, cool. So next you're going to take your type tool, which is the letter T right here, the horizontal type tool, and click and drag your text box however large you want your hi, good morning. however large you want your text to be. So I'm just going to say something like this is some text that okay, so I ran out of space a little bit here. I'm gonna increase that. We're just gonna say this is some text because I don't wanna, oh, maybe I can click this. That's how it works in, no. You're gonna be mean to me type tool, that's fine. All right, so this text is pretty hard to see. So if you ever have your type tool selected, I'm gonna take the that eye off real quick and the rote as well. If your text, your font color, I mean, is really hard to see with the blending of the background that you're happening here. If you highlight it, there's a box right here in the top bar that's going to select the color of your text. Right now mine's set to white, so I'm going to set that. When you click that box, it opens up the color picker we're familiar with. I'm just going to set it to black. All right. You can also do some more text adjustment tools like you see in something like Word or Google Docs. We're going to center that up. And then we're going to make this a little bit larger. Oh, I held shift. I messed with my aspect ratio. We're going to do just something like this. Make it a little bit bigger here. Because we want the effect to be showing through our subject. Because the subject in the photography sense is just something that's nice to look at or something that is an extra additional part of this poster. You want to use the text as the part of the communication that you're trying to do here. So I've got my text overlaid in a way that I think looks pretty nice. I can still see my subject's face, still enjoy some of the background, and once the effect is created, you'll see how it turns out, looking cool. So if you're following along with me, you should have a layer 0 and a layer 1 copy with a mask on the subject like this, and then just a text layer that overlaps your subject in some way. If we look back at my other example, you can see how it has just overlapping on the face in this way. It does not have to be super crazy. Okay, so next what we're going to do is duplicate our text again with Control J. And it's going to be not, again, visually, nothing's going to change because it's duplicating it in the exact same spot. We're going to switch up our layer order a little bit. We're going to take our this is some text, the original, the first layer right here, and put it underneath our masked subject layer like that. So it goes image, text, image, text. On the top text layer right here, we're going to click on this little FX button right here. This is a shortcut to the layer styles panel. Like if you double click, get this up from advanced compositing. You can click on this little FX button. It's going to pop open some options, and we want to click the stroke option right here. It's just like the word stroke in Illustrator. It's going to be some type of outline happening around the outside edge. I actually forgot a step. Before you click stroke, you got to set your fill on your copy layer to 0%. So set your fill to 0%, and you can already start to see some cool stuff is happening. Actually, let me make sure I'm doing this right. Yes. Okay, cool. All right. So the top layer is set to 0%, but we're going to add that FX of stroke. It's going to pop open a dialog box for layer style and stroke. We're going to set the position to be outside. I'm going to set that size to about 4 to 6 pixels. PX. Blend mode normal, opacity 100%. Set the fill type to a color. You want that to match your font like this. So your preview should look something like this. Same color as your font. It's going to have a very Illustrator style stroke in the little preview right here. Click OK. You can already see the effect is starting to happen where it's creating just because, good morning, because we have this duplication layer, because they're in the same spot, it's creating this cool kind of X-ray effect that's overlaying with our subject, allowing both the text to stay visible and the subject to be in focus here. The next thing you want to do is click on your some text layer and then hold the Alt key until you see this little box with the arrow. Okay, it's kind of hard to identify, or not hard to identify, but it's you put your cursor on the line between the two layers like this. So if I hold the Alt key, which is right next to the space bar, and hover in between my layers. You don't want to actually click on them. You want to click between them. This is going to create what's called a clipping mask. So once you see this white square with the little black arrow facing down, you click and you should see your text layer at the top, add a little arrow on the side and shift to the right a little bit. I hope that makes sense while I'm demoing here. And then the last step that you'll need to do is to shift click, or actually hold control this time, right underneath shift, and click on your other text layer. You can see how in my layers panel, the top text layer with the effects and stroke and the bottom text layer, or the second text layer, I mean, they're both having this light gray outline. That means because I held control, they are both going to be selected. You're going to click this little chain link button right here, or this little connection link button right here. Link those two together. You'll see a little link icon pop up. And then we're going to repeat a similar process for the background and the mask. But instead of linking them, we're going to lock them so they don't move around and start creating some issues for our, let me make my layers a little bit bigger. For our, anytime we're trying to move some stuff around. So because we locked these two together, or because we locked the layers, the photo layers down, and we linked the text layers together, now we have, wherever we position this text, it's going to still maintain that X-ray effect. And I think it looks pretty cool. You can experiment with the positioning of the text. You can experiment with the stroke weight in pixels. But because we set it up using layer masks and clipping masks and different, a little bit of layer styling, you get this really sort of easy effect that is always going to be looking nice. You can create some cool posters. You can create some cool social media that has a text message still communicating, as well as some interesting photography to keep your client or your audience, I suppose, invested in what you have to say. So what I have in mind today is just kind of you guys experimenting with some of these more interesting, a little bit more fun, a little bit more self-directed things with layer masks. And then tomorrow we'll get more into layer styles, but there's not really an assignment attached to these. It's just I want you guys to experiment, finish up 8.1, 2, and 3, things we've already assigned. But this is a cool way to start making some stuff in Photoshop that you can start sharing, that you can start messing around with and making some cool effects. So hope that makes sense. There's more videos I can find. I'm happy to get you more tutorials or to walk you through anything else you're curious about. But linked in the thread, we have the typography comp, which I just showed you, the double exposure video, and then the neon light effect that you can do with an image of yourself or an image from Unsplash. Both work for any of these. So thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it. I'll process this real quick, and then I will wander around if you have any questions. Thanks, y'all.